Καλησπέρα σε όλους. Καλώς ορίσατε στο OVERPLAY powered by Novibet με special guest από την Αμερική. Ένα κύριο που θα μας βοηθήσει πάρα πολύ να διαλευκάνουμε λίγο την κατάσταση με τον Βασίλιε Μίτσιτς και τον Σάσα Βεζένκοφ. We welcome to the show Mr. Eric Pincus, General Manager at Sports Business Classroom, NBA National Writer at Bleacher Report, Salary Cap Strategist, Tutor and Consultant, the man himself. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time, Eric.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Mr. Pincus, there's a specific reason, I spoke to you a little bit about this back when I met you in LA. There's a specific reason that I needed you on the show. There's a lot of speculation. A lot of people talk. We have a lot of trolls out here on Twitter that they write whatever they come up with, whatever they see in their dreams. So we have two players that are, there's a lot of rumors around them. And since you're expert as far as the salary cap and contracts, it's two players. It's Sasha Vezenkov for the Sacramendo Kings. He's entering his second year of a 3-year deal. And then there's Vasίλιε Μίτσιτς, same situation, second year of a 3-year deal. And I want to dig into the contracts and actually see, what the chances are for these guys to return to Europe. Is it the same situation? What needs to unfold for that to happen? So do you want to treat these as two different contracts in two different situations, or do you want it to be treated as one and the same?
Well, we can go over each. A lot of the concepts are similar. So the rules are the rules. So we'll work with them, and then we can just go over. Now, their contracts are relatively similar, so there'll be some overlap, and then we can talk contextually maybe what those teams individually may be more willing to do or more likely to do. So you mentioned Vezenkov first, so we might as well.
Yeah, let's start with Vezenkov. Yeah, sure, definitely.
I'm going to butcher their names, and I know that. So apologies for my Americanization of the accent. So the idea here in the NBA is that a contract typically is fully guaranteed, and that's a benefit of the NBA that a lot of other leagues, specifically NFL, American football, doesn't really afford. And so the Kings owe Sasha almost $7 million, 6.7 this year, period. Correct. That's how much they owe him. There is an additional option the year after that, a team decision that needs to be made before the end of June 2025. But let's say he wants to go back now and play overseas, do something different. The solution there would be to basically amend his contract. It would be Sasha going to the Kings saying, okay, we'll let you go. We're letting you go not to maybe stay in the NBA. Maybe they wouldn't do this. If he was going to go sign with another NBA team, maybe that's binding, maybe it's not. But they would say, okay, we'll waive you and we'll amend the guarantee. So he is guaranteed 6-7. We'll reduce the guarantee to 0. And they can't do that on their own. They can't change his number. They can't change the 6-7, but they can change how much of it is guaranteed. But they can't do it without the written amendment from the player. So the player is signing off on it. Now, let's say both sides agree. 0 is guaranteed. He's still 6-7. They waive him. For 48 hours, he would be on the waiver wire. And so any team can claim him. Okay. And his contract goes back to normal like it was never. Or actually, in that circumstance, I'd have to think about it. I imagine, his contract would go back to guarantee. Depends how they would do the language. And he would be on some other team, and then he would have to play that out. Or he clears waivers, free and clear, can leave the NBA, doesn't get that $6.7 million, and that's that. So we have seen something similar some time back with Derek Fisher in Utah. This is a long time ago. But he had a medical issue with his daughter and wanted to go to Los Angeles for better treatment. The Jazz let him go. Same process, reduced the guarantee. He signed with the Lakers, ended up winning a couple more championships with Kobe. So we do a precedent of that sort of thing happening. And then we do have buyouts all the time. So this would basically be considered like a buyout. It's just usually a buyout is like an expensive player who a team doesn't want, lets him go. This is more of just like a mutual conversation where Sasha decides, I want to go play somewhere else.
Quick question to follow up on this. Does the situation change at all if he gets traded? Or is it the exact same procedure, even though he's with his first team?
I mean, again, did the team trade for him as a player, or did the team trade for him as a number? Each situation is going to be very specific. To make a trade,
assume a tanking team. Let's assume a tanking team traded for him, and they want to either stretch his contract or they're not interested in keeping the player. I'm just as number wise and as far as the business deal wise of getting together and saying, hey, I don't want to be here. You guys don't want me. Can I please go? Okay, cool. Is it the same situation if he gets traded to another team, or do the numbers and the business aspect of it change at all?
The numbers don't change. The motivation might change. So like the Kings may look at their books and say, okay, we need to get better. And to get better, now if they could just cut Vezenkov off their books, maybe they can get out of a couple other players. I'd have to look and do the math. Is there a way to get to enough money for Malik Monk? Malik Monk he's about there's a limit to what they can pay him, about 18. I have to look at the exact number. Let's say they can pay him the max of 18, and let's say the Magic or the Spurs or someone offers him 21 or something like that. They might lose him. So you can argue maybe they look to make trades and just shed money, in which case he goes to some team. Let's say he goes to the Hornets, and the Hornets say, okay, we'll let you go. No problem. Getting to a team that is tanking, that doesn't want to keep him, it's probably easier to make this happen.
Okay.
Timing wise, the Kings could say, we're willing to let you go, but we can't do that right away because we may need your contract number and trade. Let's say that they're willing to trade Kevin Huerter and Sasha and Chris Duarte. And you put all those numbers together, you get 17 for Kevin, you get 7 for Sasha, and about 6 for Duarte. And then you can bring back a certain number. In trades are very complicated where you have to bring back within a certain range. Sometimes it's equal money. Sometimes it's up to maybe 7.5 or 7, almost 8 million more. It could be a percentage. There's all kinds of combinations. And so if they're doing that, they may need to hold on to the player because let's say they have a deal that they're trying to execute in July or June. Doesn't happen. They realize, okay, this deal is going to take some time. It might not happen until December. Maybe it won't even happen until the trade deadline, and we need that number to make this trade legal. They may simply be, we're not doing this. We'll do it in March or February after the trade deadline if it doesn't work out. But other than that, we appreciate your situation. We're happy to do it. We can't do it until it favors us, and that's a very real possibility on the team side.
Do you feel like, this is kind of rhetorical, but do you feel like both these contracts are great trade chips as far as assets to make deals work? Contracts around $6 to $7 million.
I mean, they're good because there's the flexibility of the option. If you want the player, but you don't want a commitment, you're getting a player that you can try out at a good number. So from another team's point of view, you may agree with Sasha if Sasha feels like I can do more. You may be a team that looks at him and says he can do more. He'll never do more in Sacramento. He'll do more for us. It's not a high number. And then we get an extra year if it works out at another low number. 7 million in the NBA is not the minimum. Minimums are in the anywhere between 1 to 3 or so range. So it's a good contract.
Do they still get to use that money if they release him?
No, if they release him and he's waived, and we're saying that his contract goes down to 0 guaranteed. Once they cut him, he is off their books entirely. And let's say they cut him right now, guaranteed them with the money guaranteed. He would be about 6.7 of dead money. So once a player is waived and they cleared waivers, their money is on your books, but it's dead. You can't.
Even though he's getting paid $0, he still counts as 6.7 towards the books.
I'm saying if they waived him without without adjusting it, without the agreement.
What about if they waive him with the adjustment 0?
Then he's off their books,
and they can use the $7 million.
He's 0 on their books at that point.
Okay, so basically, it actually makes sense for it. I'm just saying hypothetically, if both parties want this marriage to end, it might be better for them to get the agreement at 0 so they can use the 6-7 million towards a Malik Monk contract. Am I right?
Not exactly. Well, the problem is that they only have the early bird, the early rights after 2 years for Monk. So there's a max that they can pay him with those rights that happens to be about 18. The only way to pay him more would be to have that much in cap space.
If the Sacramento Kings actually get this money to zero, will they be able to use the 6-7 million to sign somebody else, whoever?
Yeah, looking at it,
I understand. I understand it. They can't go to Monk. They can't go towards the Monk.
Getting out of Sasha via trade or by just cutting him would increase that flexibility. And let's say they got out of Chris Duarte as well by trading him. Now they're in the range where they can add a $13 million player, roughly.
Got it.
There's potential motivation on the team side to cut bait. If it's not through trade, it does potentially give them the flexibility to add someone else. So that's their motivation. If they don't think he's the right player for them and they can just get him off their books, no penalty, and they can go sign someone else that they think can help them more, that's the motivation right there. That's why they do that. I mean, look, it might just be as simple as whatever. Even if it wasn't, they may just do it anyway because they want to let the player go because they don't need him and he's willing to do this. But again, there's always that caveat that they might just need that number for trade to add a player. So it's, can you get a player via trade and you need the number, or letting him go do you get a $13 million player in free agency that you couldn't get with that money on the books? So there's all these different, and a lot of it hinges on what Malik Monk does. So there's, what's funny is in like, a month, we're going to know the answer probably to 90% of this, because July 1st, the draft is late June. Was it 3 or 4 weeks? And then we go right into free agency. All these decisions, what Malik Monk chooses, will probably be known June 30th, July 1st, July 2nd. I would be surprised if it goes any longer than that. So we'll know within a month what's going to happen with the Kings and Sasha.
Okay. Excellent, insightful stuff. Let's move out of Sacramento. Let's go to Charlotte for a little bit. Let's talk about Vasίλιε Μίτσιτς. He's also a EuroLeague MVP, Final Four MVP, I should say, a two-time champ. He's a guy that's receiving a lot of traction here. I'm actually at the Panathinaikos arena right now, and he's been linked to Panathinaikos a lot. What's the situation with him? Is it exactly identical to Sasha? Is it different because he's already gotten traded? And to be fair, he kind of balled out as a Charlotte Hornets player. He had a chance to showcase a lot of his skill.
Right. So, number one, we have new leadership in Charlotte. So we still haven't necessarily got a feel for direction. So it's hard to say what they want to be and how quickly they want to win and what their motivations are. And so, when you have a player who's about 30, who is 30, and you have a team that's potentially rebuilding, that usually doesn't match. The rules are basically the same. He has $7.7 million. He has an option. They can do the same thing of letting him go. If they agree, both sides reduce the money. But in theory, they could want him as a player. So I would argue that a rebuilding team, you probably want to get younger players, get as many young players as you can, let them struggle a little bit, figure out who's someone worth building around, and then start to good quality veterans around them. I think it's very arguable that they just let him go. Now they could want to do a trade. Same idea. Like maybe there's a Bertans and Micic trade. And, you put the numbers together with Curry and they bring back some player. Usually a team that's in a rebuilding state doesn't want to bring on salary. So it's a little bit less likely. The Kings, they want to win. They made the playoffs, then they didn't. And they want to get back to the playoffs and feel like they have a chance to compete for a title. The Hornets are probably on a longer path, but sometimes new ownership or new leadership, which they have both, wants the team to go faster. And usually it's unrealistic and they make moves that are trying to make the playoffs. So I don't know the pathway for Charlotte, so I'm curious. But my expectation is that it's probably easier for Micic to get out, but at the same time, as you said, maybe what he's shown as a player, it puts him in a higher demand, and maybe another team is eager to go get him. You've got a player who can help a playoff team potentially. Go get him. Maybe the Kings want him instead of Sasha,
trade
and they
him.
make
Yeah,
the
right.
numbers work more or less, and now you have a different direction. So, we don't know the answers, and we can kind of talk about the parameters and what
Okay.
could happen and what the choices are, and then we see what the teams choose.
So my first question is, do you feel like in regards to both situations that it's easier for everything to be cleared out if they both want to leave, if they both want to get waived, etc.? Is it easier to happen in February than it is during the summer?
No, I mean, typically most moves happen over the summer, and the goal there is that in theory, an NBA team wants to know who they're bringing to training camp so they can invest the resources to develop those players, to know who their team's going to be, to not go through the change of bringing in guys midstream without a training camp and having to adjust.
Of the two, who do you think is most likely to be? Let's assume that both are back overseas soon, if not now, after the end of their second year. Of the two, who do you think is more likely to be back overseas sooner, based on
Well,
situation?
just based on the Hornets being a rebuilding team potentially, I would say it's probably Micic, just based on they probably don't need a 30-year-old player, and
Mhm.
if there's no one else who's really eager to get him, and if he, his agent has some say in it, if the agent is, on behalf of the player going to other teams and say, don't trade for my player, he doesn't want to be here, he wants to go back overseas, another team can say, we don't care, we want your player, he's under contract, there's nothing you could do about it. True. But if you're trading for someone who doesn't want to be there, that doesn't always foster a positive environment.
Just one final question before we move on to the last part of this wonderful show. Thank you so much for your time again, letting us know exactly what's going on, because there's just a lot of random stuff up on Twitter around my area. Is there a scenario where these guys get some money, especially if, let's say for Micic, because there's no salary cap issue over there? Is there a scenario where he gets half his contract and then he gets released?
So they could go to the negotiating table and negotiate a buyout. It doesn't have to be a full buyout. It doesn't have to be Sasha saying, or let's say these numbers, let's round them up to let's just say they're 7 million. We'll just call it 7 million.
Okay.
Let's say
Okay.
their salaries are both 7 million. They could negotiate it down to 0. The team gets off completely, but maybe they negotiate it to be 3.5, right? Half of that 7 million. And
Okay.
each team is like, okay, we're saving 3.5 million to get out of a player. Maybe that's worthwhile.
In order to let you go, I got to ask you about one more player. He's not in the NBA right now. He's dominating the Euro League, turning a lot of heads. He signed a contract with Panathinaikos. I'm talking about Kendrick Nunn, of course, former Miami Heat, Los Angeles Laker, and Washington Wizard. So he signed a 2-year contract with the NBA out. And I'm wondering, what kind of a contract do you think a player like that could get coming back to the NBA? I was thinking maybe 3 years, 18, 3 years, 21, maybe, or 2 years, 12. If he were to go back to the NBA, what kind of contract do you think he would get?
That's a good question. So the main issue is that most teams don't have a lot of money to offer. So uh, I don't know that a team with cap room is going to spend real money on him. So the most would be 13 million, which would be the non-taxpayer mid-level realistically. But I think based on his production the last couple of years in the NBA, which wasn't very high, maybe you could get the taxpayer mid-level of 5.3 or part of the room mid-level. I don't think you would get 8 million. There's the biannual, which is about 4.7. So I would probably say at most five or so $1 million, but he might be at this point a minimum player in the NBA, even though he's playing well overseas. And then I'd have to look at his years of service. I don't have that off the top of my head, but let's say it was 5 or 6 or so, maybe 2.8, 2.9, 2.6, depending on how long he's been in the league in the first year. So, the challenge is that you murder overseas and teams take notice, but they have to believe you can do it here. And so, we saw someone like Dante Exum play well overseas, and then he played really well for the Mavericks, but he's really struggling in the playoffs. So it's tricky. it's also he's a
I would
ball
argue,
handling guard.
yeah, I would argue that Dante Exum is kind of a different situation considering he was a lottery pick, like top 3 pick, if I'm not mistaken, where Kane Nunn's a guy out of the mud, undrafted. So he played 3 years with the Heat and he barely got any money, about $1 million per year. And then when he signed his first contract, 2 years, 10 million with the Lakers, which was that taxpayer mid-level exception that you're saying, he was injured throughout the whole first year. He didn't even play. So I understand like the whole concept of a player playing overseas, but this is something that we haven't seen before because he came here at 28 in the middle of the year and he's really dominating this league. It's not that easy for a human, not a basketball player, to adjust and come out here and play like this. So if you're saying that he's going to get the same contract, so if he's getting 2 years, 10 million in California, he's basically netting 5 million. That's what he's getting right here. So the money's going to be the same.
Well, I mean, there are some states where the taxes are very light. So, Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, Memphis, Orlando, Miami. I think those are the ones that have no state tax.
Correct.
So there are ways around that. We'd have to look case by case. Who needs a guard? Who needs a ball handling guard? How badly does he want to come back? And so again, like it's just for reference sake, looking at, I'd have to look at what Dante Exum got, but he's in the $3 million range. So it's not, that's again, like someone who was a lottery pick and, came back. So guys who come back, a team has to pay enough that's worthwhile. If it's not enough, he'll just stay overseas. So a team has to be in love with him, feel like he's really the guy. Feels like it's in the $3 to $5 million range. That would probably be, and it might not be worth it for him to come back. Given the competition in the NBA, where they always want younger players, and there's all this always politics. I don't know that they rush to do that. However, I don't know that he even wants to come back for that kind of risk. Whereas if he's getting this money here and has the opportunity to be the star guy, the main dude, why would he want to leave that opportunity other than well, I mean, maybe he wants to move back to America. Maybe he wants to be on it, on the NBA because of what the NBA represents. But from a career perspective and from a financial perspective, he may be better off just earning for as long as he can, 2-3 years. Go get as much as you can overseas. It's beautiful over in that part of the world. Experience that part of life. Get as much money as you can. Play basketball, and if you can come back after a little bit, when you've made that money, you come back to America, play in the NBA again. If so, great. If not, oh well. But I think that's an arguable point.
Okay, so to put this to bed, probably non-tax. I'm looking at Exum, non-taxpayer mid-level exception, about $3 million a year, and Kane Nunn's contract when he signed with the Lakers was the taxpayer mid-level exception. So you're thinking between 3 to 6 mil is the range of the money he's getting per year, correct?
In that range, yeah. I mean, Dante just got part of the non-taxpayer mid-level. That actually goes up this year to about 13, so he got a portion of it. You don't have to get the whole thing. So, but again, like you'd have to go case by case, team by team, who has money, who's willing to spend it, and who has need at that position. And very quickly, the list drops. It drops immediately, where you have young teams that have young guards who need minutes, and you're just not going to give them those kind of minutes. Or you have like the Celtics, right? Like you have Drew Holiday, you have Peyton Pritchard. That's probably not going to change at the ball handling guard position. And unless Nunn is going to play off the ball at shooting guard, and maybe for him to be great, he needs the ball. So why would he go to Boston? It wouldn't make sense for either. You look at the next team, you look at the next team, you look at the next team. Probably doesn't go back to the Lakers because it didn't really work out. Doesn't need to go to the Wizards. The Heat probably don't have him back just based on moving on to other things. You just check up one by one. It doesn't make sense.
One by
and
one.
You find the Nets. The Nets have a need at guard, but do they address that differently? If they get a starting guard, they probably have Dennis Schroeder as the backup. They don't need, so it's just becomes a dwindling opportunity. And that's really how the NBA works, because you have new players coming in every year. You have all these young guards coming in, and some of them are going to hit, some won't, but they're taking away jobs from players who are nearing 30, who are borderline starters. Maybe overseas, they're a clear starter, but not every decision that's made in the NBA is based on who's the best player. It's based on you have a guy who's 20, 21, 19, who's the future of your franchise, but they need to play a ton of minutes and learn how to develop. And Nunn might be a better player than they are now, but that doesn't mean you're going to build your franchise around Nunn. Building it around this young player. So it's not who's the best player, it's who's in the best situation, and those things vary.
Okay, excellent. That was the cherry on top. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for giving us all this insightful information. I know a lot of Greeks are going to be messaging you very soon after this episode is up. It's the Overplay Show, powered by Novibet. This is Mr. Eric Pincus. Go give him a follow on Twitter. Don't just spam him. If you have insightful questions, go ahead. I'm pretty sure he's going to respond. Thank you so much, Eric. Appreciate your time.
Of course. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.